there. Here. Just a we go, we're live. You hit record here. Here's my letter. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and today, since it's 3 o'clock, it's not tonight yet, but today we're going to continue our study of paper 47, Mansion Worlds, and we're on page 300 or 536.2 in the original book, or paper 4761, and all the rest of them. Okay, and so let's get started here. I'm going to mute. Diane, would you take the, oh, let me change the screen there first. Here we go. Start. Yep.
6. The fourth mansion world. When you arrive on the fourth mansion world, you will have entered upon the Urantia career. You have progressed a long way from the initial material existence. Now are you given permission to make visits to transition world number 4, there to become familiar with the headquarters and training schools of the super angels, including the brilliant evening stars. Through the good offices of these super angels of the fourth transition world, the Urantia visitors are enabled to draw very close to the various orders of the sons of God, doing the periodic visits to Jerusalem. For new sectors of the system capital are gradually opening up to the advancing mortals as they make these repeated visits to the headquarters world. New grandeur are progressively unfolding to the expanding minds of these ascenders.
Okay, so when you get to the fourth mansion world, you enter a different phase of your Urantia career. And what happens is you're in close contact with the super angels, and the super angels are in close contact with the various sons of God. And we're talking about the Lenanandex and Verandadex and things like that. So you're able to interact with these higher sons of God because you're on a higher level, number one. And then also you have opened yourself up to all the satellites of the fourth satellite, which is the one for the super angels. And as this expands, your mind expands also as ascenders. So we're going to find out where on this world you also have started to perfect the language of Satania, and soon you will be learning the language of Uversa next. So, all right, and here's a little picture of that. It's the same picture that was on the screen when we started out tonight. Okay, and it says right here, having mastered the local universe language. Let me go down here to this other one so I can read it easier. Having mastered the local universe language before leaving the fourth mansion world, you now devote more time to the perfection of the tongue of Uversa. So you start learning the tongue of the super universe rather than just the local universe. Okay. I went backwards there. All right. On the fourth mansion, yeah, the individual ascender more fittingly finds his place in the group working and class functions of the Urantia life. So you fit in a little bit better. Ascenders here develop increased appreciation of the broadcast and other phases of the local universe culture and progress. And what they're talking about, the broadcast, they're talking about on each of these mansion worlds, there's projected to all the inhabitants, everything that's going in the local universe and eventually the super universe also. So we got TV down there, basically. Oh boy. All right. Dear, you want to take the next one?
It is during the period of training on world number 4 that the ascending mortals are really first introduced to the demands and delights of the true social life of Urantia creatures. And it is indeed a new experience for evolutionary creatures to participate in social activities which are predicated neither on personal aggrandizement nor on self-seeking conquest. A new social order is being introduced, one based on the understanding sympathy of mutual appreciation, the unselfish love of mutual service, and the overmastering motivation of the realization of a common and supreme destiny, the paradise goal of worshipful and divine perfection. Ascenders are all becoming self-conscious of God knowing, God revealing, God seeking, and God finding.
Oops. So things slowly are changing as you're going through these worlds. You're becoming less self-absorbed and more socially integrated, yes, into other beings and other things that's going on. The intellectual and social culture of the fourth dimension world is compared to the mental and social life of the post-teacher sun age on the planets of normal evolution. The spiritual status is much in advance of such a mortal dispensation. So this would be, in our case, many, many eons into the future when we get a Trinity teacher sun that will teach the planet. So you could think of the fourth dimension world about the same level of socialization as a world that's already had that teacher sun for quite some time. All right, the fifth dimension world.
Seven, the fifth mansion world. Transport to the fifth mansion world represents a tremendous forward step in the life of a Urantia progressor. The experience on this world is a real foretaste of this cherubim life. Here you begin to realize the high destiny of the local evolutionary worlds. The high destiny of the it's the same thing. Loyal evolutionary worlds, since they may normally progress to this stage during their natural planetary development. The culture of this mansion world corresponds in general to that of the early era of light and life on the planets of normal evolutionary progress. And from this, you can understand why it is so arranged that the highly cultured and progressive types of beings who sometimes inhabit these advanced evolutionary worlds are exempt from the passing through one or more, or even all of the mansion spheres.
So as you can see, the fifth dimension worlds is about equal to the age of light and life on most planets. So if we gain that status on our planet, instead of going to the first dimension world when you died, you would go to the first dimension world, but you'd be kicked up to around the fifth dimension world, somewhere in that area, fifth or sixth. All right, having mastered the local universe language before leaving the fourth dimension world, you now devote more time to the perfection of the tongue of Uversa, to the end that you may be proficient in both languages. Before arriving on Jerusalem with residential status, all ascending mortals are bilingual from the system headquarters up to Havana. And then it is only necessary to enlarge the super universe vocabulary, still additional enlargement being required for residents on paradise. So once you have learned the language of Uversa, that's going to do you until you actually get to Havana, where you start to learn the language of paradise, which it exponentially goes up at that point. So with each stage, you learn a little bit more, and you learn it just like you do down here, a little bit at a time. And there's a picture of someone who's going to the super angel world. And this is the next one, world number 5, the one we're talking about, the world of the suns. All right. Let me see if I could read this little bitty type on the bottom down here. Having mastered the local universe language, before leaving the fourth dimension world, you now devote more time to the perfection of the tongue of Uversa to the end that you may be proficient in both languages before arriving on Jerusalem with residential status. All ascending mortals are bilingual from the system headquarters up to Havona, and then you become trilingual, right? Because by the time you reach Havona, you will have started learning the language of paradise. All right. Upon arrival on Mansonia number 5, did I jump over you?
Yeah, I thought it was my turn.
Oh, is it? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Upon arrival on Mansonia, it's not capitalized. I would have thought that would have been capitalized. Number 5, the pilgrim is given permission to visit the transition world of corresponding number, the sun's headquarters. Here, the ascendant mortal becomes personally familiar with the various groups of divine sonship. He has heard of these superb beings and has already met them on Jerusalem, but now he comes really to know them.
Yeah. Okay, they're talking about the divine sons here. So by the time you reach the 5th mansion world, you hobnob with the big guys. On the 5th Mansonia, you begin to learn of the constellation study worlds. Here you meet the first of the instructors who begin to prepare you for the subsequent constellation sojourn. Congratulations, I've reached 50,000 views. How about that?
Really?
On YouTube, 50,000. Yeah. Constellation sojourn. More of this preparation continues on for worlds 6 and 7, while the finishing touches are supplied in the sector of the ascending mortals on Jerusalem. So you're slowly making your way through these worlds. All right. Diane?
A real birth of cosmic consciousness takes place on Mansonia number 5. You are becoming universe-minded. This is indeed a time of expanding horizons. It is beginning to dawn upon the enlarging minds of the ascending mortals, the some stupendous and magnificent, some supernal and divine. Destiny awaits all who complete the progressive paradise ascension, which has been so laboriously, but so joyfully and auspiciously, thank you, begun. At about this point, the average mortal ascender begins to manifest bona fide experiential enthusiasm and the for the Havona ascent. Study is becoming voluntary, unselfish service natural, and worship spontaneous. A real Morantia character is budding. A real Morantia creature is evolving.
So the way they talk, we're going from being a little bitty minded Morantia being to a bigger minded Morantia being, right? 8, the 6th mansion world. Sojourners on this sphere are permitted to visit transition world number 6, where they begin to learn more about the high spirits of the super universe. Although they are not able to visualize many of these celestial beings, here they also receive their first lessons in the prospective spirit career, which so immediately follows graduation from the Morantia training of the local universe. So we're really making progress here. All right, dear.
The assistant system sovereign makes frequent visits to this world, and the initial instruction is here begun in the technique of universe administration. The first lessons embracing the affairs of a whole universe are now imparted.
Okay, and these aren't stupid little instructors like we have on this planet. They're real ones, right? Okay, and this picture is so small I can't read it. So, but basically, we're able to go to the world of the spirit at this point, and we normally can meet the assistant system sovereign at this point and hobnob with him. So things are coming right along. In this brilliant age for ascending mortals, and usually witnesses the perfect fusion of the human mind and the divine adjuster. So there it is. All right. So what world are we on? What did we just say? There we go. We're on the world 6. This is the 6th mansion world. Okay. In potential, this fusion may have occurred previously, but the actual working identity many times is not achieved until the time of the sojourn on the 5th mansion world or even the 6th. So sometime between the 5th and the 6th mansion world, most people have fused with their adjusters.
The union of the evolving immortal soul with the eternal and divine adjuster is signalized by the seraphic summoning of the supervising super angels who are resurrected survivors, there's a lot of S's in there, and of the archangel of record for those going to judgment on the 3rd day. And then in the presence of such a survivor's Urantia associates, these messengers of confirmation speak, "This is a beloved son in whom I am well pleased." This simple ceremony marks the entrance of the ascending mortal upon the eternal career of paradise service.
Now, why would that be? Because once you become a real fused human being with your adjuster, then you're a child of the universe. You're a paradise child, right? So then you are guaranteed to go on to paradise. All right. Immediately upon the confirmation of adjuster fusion, this new Urantia being is introduced to his fellows for the first time by his new name and is granted the 40 days of spiritual retirement from all routine activities, wherein to commune with himself and to choose some one of the optional routes to Havona and to select from the differential techniques of paradise attainment. So there's many decisions that you need to make at this point.
Still are these brilliant beings more or less material. They are far from being true spirits. They are more like super mortals, spiritually speaking, still a little lower than the angels, but they are truly becoming marvelous creatures.
So they don't give us much accolades, do they? During the sojourn on world number 6, the mansion world students achieve a status which is comparable to the exalted development characterizing those evolutionary worlds which have normally progressed beyond the initial states of light and life. The organization of society on this Mansonia is of a high order. The shadow of the mortal nature grows less and less as these worlds are ascended one by one. You're becoming more and more adorable as you leave behind the coarse vestiges of planetary animal origin. Coming up through great tribulation serves to make glorified mortals very kind and understanding, very sympathetic and tolerant. We can all use some more of that, can't we?
9. The 7th mansion worlds. The experience on this sphere is the crowning achievement of the immediate post-mortal career. During your sojourn here, you will receive the instruction of many teachers, all of whom will cooperate in the task of preparing you for residence on Jerusalem. Any discernible differences between those mortals hailing from the isolated and retarded worlds, us, and those survivors from the more advanced and enlightened spheres are virtually obliterated during the sojourn on the seventh mansion world. Here you will be purged of the remnants of unfortunate heredity, unwholesome environment, and unspiritual planetary tendencies. The last remnants of the mark of the beast are here eradicated.
Okay, so on the seventh mansion world, you get rid of all those the bestiality tendencies that you carry with you when you leave, right? So by the time you hit the seventh mansion world, they pretty much have wiped out all the bad human habits and the things that makes us so terrible, so that we're ready to go on to the system capital next. While sojourning on Mansonia number 7, permission is granted to visit transition world number 7, the world of the universal Father. Here you begin a new and more spiritually worship of the unseen Father, a habit you will increasingly pursue all the way up through your long ascending career. You find the Father's temple on this world of transition culture, but you do not see the Father. Not this boy.
Now begins the formation of classes for graduation to Jerusalem. You have gone from world to world as individuals, but now you prepare to depart for Jerusalem in groups. Although within certain limits, an ascender may elect to tarry on the seventh mansion world for the purpose of enabling a tardy member of his earthly or Mansonia working group to catch up with him. That'd be very kind.
Yeah, so when you get to the seventh mansion world, you're allowed to tarry or wait there for members of your family or your former spouse or whatever to catch up with you spiritually, so that you both can go to the system capital together. Okay, so nobody's in any hurry for anything, and that's pretty much the case through all 7 of these mansion worlds. And here we are on world number 7, and this is where we can visit the world of the Father. You can see here, and you can see all your friends and relatives and stuff, and all these people waiting to move on to Jerusalem, right? And you do that in classes. Right. Okay, the personnel of the seventh mansion assembly on the Sea of Glass to witness your departure for Jerusalem with residential status. That's the goal. Hundreds or thousands of times you may have visited Jerusalem, but always as a guest. Never before have you proceeded toward the system capital in the company of a group of your fellows who were bidding a eternal farewell to the whole Mansonia career as ascending mortals. Soon you will be welcomed on the receiving field of the headquarters world of Jerusalem citizen. And when you do that, you start out as a whole new type of being, as a Urantia being, but you will have graduated all the mansion worlds.
You will greatly enjoy your progress through the 7 dematerializing worlds. They are really demoralizing spheres. You are mostly human. You are mostly human on the first mansion world, just a mortal being minus a material body, a human mind housed in a Urantia form, a material body of the Urantia world, but not a mortal house of flesh and blood. You really pass from the mortal state to the immortal status at the time of adjuster fusion. And by the time you have finished the Jerusalem career, you will be full-fledged Urantians. Wow.
So by the time you finish this, you're full-fledged Urantians. All right, number 10, last part, Jerusalem citizenship. The reception of a new class of mansion world graduates is the signal for all Jerusalem to assemble as a committee of welcome. Even the Smyrnasia enjoy the arrival of these triumphant ascenders of evolutionary origin who have run the planetary race and finished the mansion world progression. Only the physical controllers and the Urantia power supervisors are absent from these occasional occasions of rejoicing. And why are they absent? Because they're working. They don't ever take off. You got a job to do and they do it.
John the Revelator saw a vision of the arrival of a class of advanced immortals from the seventh mansion world to their first heaven, the glories of Jerusalem. He recorded, and I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who had gained the victory over the beast that was originally in them and over the image that persisted through the mansion worlds, and finally over the last mark and trace, standing on the sea of glass, having the harp of God and singing the songs of deliverance from mortal fear and death. Perfected space communication is to be had on all these worlds, and your anywhere reception of such communications is made possible by carrying the harp of God, a Urantia contrivance compensating for the inability to directly adjust an immature Urantia sensory mechanism to the reception of space communications.
Okay, so we're talking about John Zebedee here, right? Very old at this point, and he had the revelation that he saw and recorded much of it. Most of it's been written down wrong, but he saw these people with the, can you see this? The harp of God, much like we have a cell phone today, right? So you can communicate with anyone when you're there. That's what it's for. It's not to sing songs, it's to communicate with all types of beings and all levels. You can do that through the harp of God. Paul also had a view of the ascendant citizen corpse as perfecting mortals in Jerusalem, for he wrote, "But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem." Jerusalem, that's what he called it. It's actually Jerusalem. "And to an innumerable company of angels, to the grand assembly of Michael, and to the spirits of just men being made perfect," because they've got rid of all the mark of the beast. All right.
After mortals have attended residence on the system headquarters, no more literal resurrections will be experienced. The Morancha form granted you on departure from the mansion world career is such as will see you through to the end of the local universe experience. Changes will be made from time to time, but you will retain the same form until you bid it farewell. When you emerge as a first stage spirits preparatory for transit to the super universe worlds of ascending culture and spirit training.
Okay, so it's very important you know this, that after the seven mansion worlds, you become a Jerusalem citizen. You've been tweaked multiple times through all seven mansion worlds and to get to the system capital. But at that point from forward, you maintain pretty much the same form all the way through all the 500 and something worlds that you're going to go through. But you'll be tweaked slightly from world to world to make sure that you are in tune with that particular world. But your form pretty much stays the same at this point until you become a first stage spirit, and then you change altogether again. All right, 7 times do those mortals who pass through this entire Mansonia career experience the adjustment, sleep, and the resurrection awakening. But the last resurrection hall, the final awakening chamber, was left behind on the 7th mansion world. No more will a form change necessitate the lapse of consciousness or the break of continuity of personal memory. So you don't go to sleep for any adjustment after this. All right, here.
The mortal personality initiated on the evolutionary worlds and tabernacled in the flesh, indwelt by this mystery monitors and invested by the spirit of truth, is not fully mobilized, realized, and unified until that day When such a Jerusalem citizen is given clearance for Urantia and proclaimed a true member of the Urantia Corps of Nebadon, an immortal survivor of a Jester association, a paradise ascender, a personality of Urantia status, and a true child of the Most Highs.
Okay, so once you've gone through all this, you're considered a citizen of Nebadon. And your next stop will be Urantia, the constellation headquarters of our system, and then eventually on to Nebadon as the local universe capital. Stand before Jesus and wait to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful service." Okay, mortal death is a technique of escape from the material life in the flesh, and the Mansonia experience of progressive life through 7 worlds of corrective training and cultural education represents the introduction of mortal survivors to the Urantia career, the transition life which intervenes between the evolutionary material existence and the higher spirit attainment of the ascenders of time who are destined to achieve the portals of eternity. So through death, that's the next thing comes. And this was sponsored by a brilliant evening star. And next time is the Urantia Life. Is the next paper. And I don't know if we're going to go on to that. If we're going to choose another paper to do after today, we'll have to see. Okay. Well, thank everyone for coming. I'm going to stop the share and we'll do the prayer of acceptance here. Dear, would you like to read the prayer of acceptance?
Prayer of acceptance. I believe that God is my paradise Father, and that only by faith am I saved. No sacrifice is necessary. By this same faith, I became a child of God, and know that all men and women are my brothers and sisters. We know the Son of God, the sovereign of our universe of Nebadon, as Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. By allowing the will of God to become my will, I will someday stand in the presence of the Paradise Father. In the name of Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen. And thank you for coming and listening to our broadcast today. Please come see us again.